Reading with Mrs. Evans. We're still on Harry Potter. Different scene today because I'm working from home, just try and keep safe and dealing with the whole coronavirus thing. So anyhow, we want to stay positive, and one of the best ways to do that is to get lost in a book. All right, so let's have a look at where we're up to. Don't forget also, if you want to keep track of when I do load these, feel free to subscribe. You don't have to if you're in my class. I'm sending you the link, or at least giving you a notification of when to jump on and visit the links for each day. Yeah, we'll just learn as we go because I'm new at this. All right, so we are at page 13 if you're reading along, just to the top of the page, and you'll see just where I've put a bit of a pencil mark. So he turned, and you'll go from there. All right. He turned to smile at the tabby, but it had gone. Instead, he was smiling at a rather severe-looking woman who was wearing square glasses, exactly the shape of the markings the cat had around its eyes. She, too, was wearing a cloak, an emerald one. Her black hair was drawn into a tight bun. She looked distinctly ruffled. "How did you know it was me?" she asked. "Oh, my dear Professor, I've never seen a cat sit so stiffly." "You'd be stiff if you'd been sitting on a brick wall all day," said Professor McGonagall. "All day? When you could have been celebrating? I must have passed a dozen feasts and parties on my way here." Professor McGonagall sniffed angrily. "Oh, yes, everybody's celebrating all right," she said impatiently. "You'd think they'd be a bit more careful. But no, even the Muggles have noticed something's going on. It was on their news." She jerked her head back at the Dursleys' dark living room window. "I heard flocks of owls shooting stars. Well, they're not completely stupid. They were bound to notice something. Shooting stars down in Kent? I bet that was Daedalus Diggle. He never had much sense." "You can't blame them," says Dumbledore gently. "We've had precious little to celebrate for 11 years. "I know that," said Professor McGonagall irritably. "But that's no reason to lose our heads. People are being downright careless, out on the streets in broad daylight, not even dressed in Muggle clothes, swapping rumours." She threw a sharp sideways glance at Dumbledore here, as though he was hoping he was going to tell her something, but he didn't, so she went on. "A fine thing it would be if on the very day you-know-who seems to have disappeared at last, the Muggles found out about all of us." "I suppose he really has gone, Dumbledore?" "It certainly seems so," said Dumbledore. "We've much to be thankful for. Would you care for a sherbet lemon?" "A what?" "A sherbet lemon. They're kind of a Muggle sweet I'm rather fond of." "No, thank you," said Professor McGonagall coldly, as though she didn't think that was the moment for sherbet lemons. I don't blame her. "As I say, even if you-know-who has gone..." "My dear Professor, surely a sensible person like you can call him by his name. All this you-know-who nonsense. For 11 years I've been trying to persuade people to call him by his proper name, Voldemort." Professor McGonagall flinched, but Dumbledore, who was unsticking 2 sherbet lemons, seemed not to notice. "It all gets so confusing if we keep saying you-know-who. I've never seen any reason to be frightened of saying Voldemort's name." "I know you haven't," said Professor McGonagall, sounding half exasperated, half admiring. "But you're different. Everyone knows you're the only one all right, Voldemort was frightened of." "You flatter me," says Dumbledore calmly. "Voldemort had powers I will never have." "Only because you're too, noble to use them. It's lucky it's dark. I haven't blushed so much since Madame Pomfrey told me she liked my new earmuffs." Professor McGonagall shot a sharp look at Dumbledore and said, "The owls are nothing to the rumours that are flying around. You know what everyone's saying about why he's disappeared, about what finally stopped him. It seems that Professor McGonagall had reached the point she was most anxious to discuss. The real reason she'd been waiting on a cold, hard wall all day. For neither a cat nor as a woman had she fixed Dumbledore with such a piercing stare as she did now. It was plain that what everyone was saying, she was not going to believe it until Dumbledore told her it was true. Dumbledore, however, was choosing another sherbet lemon and did not answer. What they're saying, she pressed on, is that last night Voldemort turned up in Godric's Hollow. He went to find the Potters. The rumour is that Lily and James Potter are they're dead. Dumbledore bowed his head. Professor McGonagall gasped. Lily and James, I can't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. Oh, Albus. Dumbledore reached out and patted her on the shoulder. I know, he said heavily. Professor McGonagall's voice trembled as she went on. That's not all. They're saying he tried to kill the Potter's son, Harry, but he couldn't. He couldn't kill that little boy. Voldemort's power somehow broke, and that's why he's gone. Dumbledore nodded glumly. It's true, faltered Professor McGonagall. After all he's done, all the people he's killed, he couldn't kill a little boy. It's just astounding of all the things to stop him. But how, in the name of heaven, did Harry survive? We can only guess, said Dumbledore. We may never know. Stay tuned for tomorrow and we'll move on with episode 5. So, like I said, make sure you check on every day during school days. I will be recording. I do like to have a bit of a weekend. And I'll try and continue to read over our Australian New South Wales school holidays as well for the Easter break, so that if you do want to keep up with reading Harry Potter with me, you can do so. All right. Have a great afternoon, Stage 3. Happy learning, and let's read with Mrs. Evans tomorrow. Bye.